we're going to do a video and learn how to find the greatest common factor and the least common multiple with something called the division ladder. And the division ladder is the new tool tonight. So your goal is to watch this video, and when you come to class tomorrow, hopefully you'll be able to understand how to use the division ladder. Now, you might not be perfect at it, but if you watch the video tonight, then you can come back and practice the skill in class tomorrow. So before we start, we're going to find the greatest common factor of 16 and 24 with the method that we learned yesterday in class, which was just making a list of factors, just as a review. So for 16, if I list the factors, 1 times 16, 2 times 8, 4 times 4. So now I know that I have all the factors because I have that repetition. Then I'm going to do the same thing with 24. 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, 4 times 6. 5 doesn't go into 12, and the next number I would test would be 6, which would also give me repetition. So I now know that I have all the factors of both 16 and 24. And in class yesterday, the next thing we did was we wrote a list of all the factors of 16 from low to high, 1, 2, 4, 8, and 16, and did the same thing for 24, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12, and 24. And then we talked about all the common factors. There's lots of common factors. 1's common to both. 2's common to both. 4 is common to both. 8 is common to both. So there's 4 common factors, but the greatest common factor, or the GCF, of 16 and 24 is 8. This process works great, but as the numbers get larger, this process can be really time-consuming. So I'm going to teach you a method that can be quicker. And I'm going to do the same problem. I'm going to work with 16 and 24 and show you how you can do this method with something called the division ladder. So to do the division ladder, you take your two numbers that you're working with, 16 and 24, for example, and you place them in the top of the division ladder. And then you think of common factors. So for example, a lot of you, when you think of 16 and 24, you might think of the first common factor that comes to mind might be 2. You could put any factor there. You could put any common factor there, but I'm going to start with 2. Once you have that common factor, what you do is you think of a division problem. You think about 16 divided by 2 and get that answer in your head, and then you put the answer down here below. So 16 divided by 2 is 8, so you put the result there. Then you repeat the process for 24 divided by 2. 24 divided by 2 is 12. If 8 and 12 have a common factor, then you continue the division ladder until the only common factor left is 1. So now you go through the process again and you pick any factor that's common to 8 and 12. Maybe you might be thinking of 4. So 8 divided by 4 is 2. So you put the answer here. 12 divided by 4 is 3. Put the answer there. Now, when you look at 2 and 3, The only common factor they have is 1. When you have a 1 there, that's the end or the bottom of the ladder. And when you look at the ladder, you can find the greatest common factor in that ladder. And the way you find that is you take all of these numbers here and you multiply them. So 2 times 4 times 1 equals 8. So 8 is the GCF of 16 and 24. We'll practice this in a minute. You can also use the ladder to find the least common multiple. So let's take a look at that. So, as you know, the other skill we've been talking about in class is finding the least common multiple of a pair of numbers. So if I look at 16 and 24, and I want to find the least common multiple, I have to make my list of multiples of 16. So 16 plus 16 is 32. Add another 16, and I get 48. Add another 16, and I get, oh my goodness, I just lost my train of thought, 64. And continuing on in that pattern, we would have multiples that go on forever. Maybe we'll put one more, because we were practicing listing at least the first 5 multiples. So those are the first 5 multiples of 16. And then we'll list some multiples of 24. 24 plus 24 is 48. And you might notice before we even go on, we found the least common multiple pretty quickly. But as you know, like we learned in class today, sometimes problems like the cicada problem takes a long time. So what we learned here is the least common multiple of 16 and 32, I'm sorry, of 16 and 24 from our list, we know the least common multiple is 48. But we can also use the division ladder. We don't actually have to do any more work. The work is right in that ladder. So it turns out the division ladder not only has the greatest common factor built into it, but it also has the least common multiple. All you need to do is look at the bottom number and the top number of the other side and multiply them. So 2 times 24 equals 48. And that's the least common multiple. And you might be wondering if you have to use the bottom left and the top right, but you could have also done 3 times 16. 3 times 16 is also 48. So the division ladder gives you the least common multiple and the greatest common factor efficiently. We're going to practice this skill once, and then you guys are going to come back to class and practice more. So let's have a practice problem here. And I'm going to move this page. Yeah, I'll just move it right here. So to do the greatest common factor and the least common multiple of 30 and 45, the first step is to put them in the top of the ladder. The second step is to pick a number that goes into both of them. They're both multiples of 5, so we could put a 5 there. 30 divided by 5 is 6. 45 divided by 5 is 9. So 6 and 9 have another common factor. So they both have 3 in common. 6 divided by 3 is 2. 9 divided by 3 is 3. The only thing that 2 and 3 have in common is 1. So now we know we're at the bottom of the ladder. So to find the GCF, you take the numbers on the side and you multiply them. So the GCF of 30 and 45 is 5 times 3 times 1, which is 15. And then the LCM, you just take the bottom of the ladder of one side and you multiply by the top of the other side. So the LCM is 2 times 45, which is 90. And remember, you could have worked this way, 3 times 30. And you still get 90. All right, hopefully you'll be able to think about that. That was almost 12 minutes. Maybe watch this one more time if you're not sure. And we'll practice in class tomorrow.